There is this common misconception that ChatGPT is a tool that's well suited for everything, but that's just not true. Transform the format of this data. Instead of a table, you have a list of UUID, and then you would have 1E9 thing that you can take a screenshot of this table, attach it to ChatGPT, and tell it to format the data in this way. Again, here's a mistake. In the one above, it's EF76, and the one below, it's E76F. ChatGPT swapped these two letters. Back to the beginning. Hi, I'm Robert, and my mission is to make work obsolete. I believe that one day we will no longer have to work because machines will be so much better at doing the work for us that we will no longer have to do it. But how will that transition look like? My mission is to equip you with the tools necessary to navigate this changing landscape and make the best out of the latest generative AI technologies. There's a common mistake when people use ChatGPT. There's a big difference of tasks where ChatGPT is suited for and other tasks where it's not so well suited for, and where you should better use different software to solve it, due to the way of how ChatGPT is built internally. People use it as a search engine, as a calculator, as spreadsheets. It's common to believe that ChatGPT is the solution to all your problems and that it can do everything, but it is plainly not true. Let me give you an example. Let's assume you have this database of products in your e-commerce database, and what you want to do is to transform the format of this data into something. Let's say instead of a table, you have a list of the details of each item. So for example, you would want something like this, UUID, and then you would have 1E9, and so on. Now, it is very common to think that you can take a screenshot of this table, attach it to ChatGPT, and tell it to format the data in this way, and then attach it here as an attachment. I've already done this to save some time. And then you prompt it in the following way. Your role, you're a data entry specialist. Your task, you'll take the data from the screenshot and so and so. And the important part here is the output format. So I prompt it to say, you'll give me a series of paragraphs, one for each item in the screenshot, using this format. This is exactly what we want each product review to look like. This is the output of ChatGPT. So now let's see if this is correct. To make it easier to compare, I put the windows side by side. So now let's have a look at the first item. The review title is correct, no aftertaste. The rating is correct as well. And the date created is also correct. Now let's have a look at the part where ChatGPT needs to be very precise, and this is the UUID. And you have to imagine the following. You want these codes to be precisely correct, because then you will take them and feed them into a different system. So even if it changes one number or leaves out one number or adds something to it, it won't be correct, because this is exact data transformation. So if we have a look, we can compare this the following way. We can copy this here to have it one below the other, so we can compare, and we can see that this one is correct. Now let's have a look at the third one, and this is where stuff starts to get interesting, because we see that, for example, the third one has an extra 0 at the end, right? So this 0 wasn't there before. Okay, let's have a look at the next one. Again, here's a mistake. If you can see, in the one above it's EF76, and the one below it's E76F. So what happened here? Basically, ChatGPT swapped these two letters. And as we go on, we see that it will make more and more mistakes. Why is this? ChatGPT, by the nature of how it is built, it is a large language model, which is a network of nodes connected by links. Let me explain to you what I mean by this. So it is one big fishing net where each node represents a so-called neuron, and each link has a weight attached to it, okay? So this is how you can visualize this. This is what's behind ChatGPT, okay? And you can imagine that here on the left, the words come in, our prompt, our examples, and so on. And then depending on how these weights are set, these words are being propagated through the network. And at the end, we have the output, right? So you can imagine that this is not an exact procedure, because the way this works, it's probabilistic. So that means that each output has a certain probability to be chosen. More precisely, each output word has a certain probability to be chosen as the next candidate. If we go back to our example, imagine that this prompt was input in the beginning of the net, and this was output at the end of the net. I won't go into details, but each of these characters has a certain probability to be chosen, right? And usually it's the thing that the more text is being output, the more unprecise it gets. So the big takeaway here is that ChatGPT is not a tool to use for high precision tasks. And this is a high precision task because you want these codes to be identical to those in the original data, because you might feed them into a different system. Broadly speaking, ChatGPT is very bad at anything analytical, like computing the sum of numbers, computing the length of a piece of text. For example, if I ask it now, what's the length? And it says 36 characters. Let's check if that's right. We'll just use a different tool for this, which is called word count. And it's actually 37 characters. The longer the string gets, the more difficult it gets. So for example, I can say, what's the length? I copy the last part of my prompt. So it says 222 characters. Okay, let's see if this is correct. It actually has 214 characters. Okay, so this is just a simple example to showcase that ChatGPT is very bad at exact calculations and text transformations. So instead of making the mistake and using ChatGPT for something that is not useful for, you have to first understand the difference between these kinds of tasks. So if you have analytical tasks, don't use ChatGPT. But if you have creative tasks where it's not so important if ChatGPT says, for example, if you want to create a message for a new contact, where it's not so important if ChatGPT says, hi, how's it going? And instead says, hi, how are you doing? These are, broadly speaking, creative tasks, writing tasks or summarizing tasks, summarizing a large document, summarizing a large web page. There you don't care if it used one word more or less. It's about the meaning. So now the question is, how do you solve these problems where you require exact data transformation? If we go back to our example earlier, it is very easy. You use software that has already been written, so that already exists, like spreadsheets, calculators. Like you saw earlier, the word count tool that I used, there's many tools for that. There's a built-in functionality in every word editor. So in this case, we want to create a list of each property of the items, right? So in this case, what you could do is you could use the function called concatenate. And concatenate takes different pieces of text and just glues them together. And this is what we want here. So in this case, we can say concatenate UUID, and then we click the cell of the item. Then we create a new line, and we type title. So then we see that it's exactly the format that we wanted originally. And we see it creating the precise output with the exact codes that now I can use to push into a different system. If you want to learn more about when to use ChatGPT and when to use different tools for your particular use case, feel free to join the Make Work Obsolete community, where we have a full AI course curriculum. We have weekly Q&A calls, a Q&A forum, and a chat for everyone else inside. There we will discuss prompting, use cases, advanced use cases, and you can ask the questions that you find in your day-to-day work, and you will get them answered by real AI tech experts. I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you did, don't forget to click the subscribe button so you get the newest videos that I post. As I said, my mission is to make work obsolete and to equip you with the tools necessary to navigate this transitionary period from where we are today to a world in which machines do all the work for us. Thanks for watching and stay tuned for the next video. Cheers!